All right, yo, we back with another video. So as you know, on Global, we've already received the JJK0 collaboration event, or whatever you want to call it. And we already got Inumaki, Maki, and Panda. And then, of course, naturally, we got Yuta, which was for part 2. Now, everybody's already kind of getting to that moment, that part where, is part 3 worth it? Because obviously part 3 is going to be an entirely brand new character. Well, we're going to basically be doing a showcase of the character and discussing what the character can do, and then you can kind of decide for yourself if it's a character you actually want to pull, right? Because I'm pretty sure everybody is going to have their opinions on the character, whether they think the character is good or not. I have my own mixed opinion on it, of course, that is kind of a little bit different to other players. Now then, so the character we're going to be talking about today is going to actually be, of course, Geto, right? So Geto is going to be the part 3 character. Now, if you aren't familiar with what he does, he is essentially a debuffer character that also scales his damage based on how much cursed energy he has. And of course, he does have a characteristic which allows him to recover 20 cursed energy at the start of turn. So he is able to maintain his cursed energy pretty high as time goes on. He isn't really so much as a good character in auto, but he is very nice in manual. Even later on, when they do manage to fix the AI and fix how he functions in auto, and him using skill 2 more often, he's still kind of like iffy on auto, just because you want to manage your cursed energy and the game doesn't do a very good job at managing your cursed energy, right? So anyways, let's actually talk about his kit and then actually discuss how I feel about the character. So let's start off with his skill 1. So his skill 1 is going to be the special grade curse tool, Playful Cloud. So as you can see, this is the weapon that Maki uses, etc. Not only Maki, but Toji. Now it's going to deal 180% melee taijutsu damage to selected enemy, and then the higher your own cursed energy is, the greater the crit hit rate boost. Then we're going to have your skill 2. Your skill 2 is going to be Cursed Spirit Manipulation. So it's going to deal 270% range Jujutsu damage to selected enemy. And then if your cursed energy is 30 or above, you'll decrease the enemy's taijutsu damage by 33% for 3 turns. And if your cursed energy is 40 or above, then you'll increase the enemy's selected Jujutsu damage received by 33%. Now, when I say Jujutsu and taijutsu, remember, taijutsu is physical and Jujutsu is cursed. So that way you can have a kind of understanding of what I'm referring to, because on JP, that's the rough translations for it. It's only going to cost you 25 cursed energy, and it should be very easy to maintain as long as you are paying attention to your cursed energy, simply due to the fact that, of course, this character does get 20 cursed energy every turn. Now let's actually move on to his third skill. So his third skill is going to be Cursed Spirit Manipulation 2. And this is going to deal 120% range Jujutsu damage to all enemies, and then the higher the cursed energy is, the greater the damage boost. Now, I don't feel like you would use this too often. It's a okay AoE, but for 30 cursed energy, it doesn't provide any value aside just trying to do damage output. I feel like in most cases, you're still better off using your skill 2, just because it will decrease the amount of damage an enemy will do to you, and on top of that, it will also increase the amount of damage that you can do to the enemy. Now let's talk about the ult, because the ult is where it kind of starts to get a little bit wonky with the character. But I mean, you can still manage with this. So he will deal 329% range Jujutsu damage to all enemies. So it's an AoE attack move. Now he is blue, so keep in mind he is going to be contesting a little bit with Gojo, but also do remember that they are going to be playing different roles, as Gojo is going to be your main DPS and Geto will be more so your debuffer character. On top of that, the higher your own cursed energy is, the greater the damage boost, and then he will reduce his own cursed energy to 0 when you activate your ult skill. So that's the only part I don't really like, him reducing his energy to 0, but I understand why they do it, just because they don't want him to just have all this cursed energy all the time and also be able to output a lot of damage. But I feel like that still wouldn't break the character's kit, because it's still severely lacking in the damage department. And then we have his auto skill, which is your passive, which is Absorption. So when defeating an enemy, you'll recover your own cursed energy by 10. So this also does give him another means of obtaining cursed energy. Keep in mind, his characteristic also allows him to get cursed energy, so he can maintain it very easily. So the more enemies defeated at once, the greater the cursed energy recoveries. And then this will exclude certain cursed spirits and enemies. Now, there is some other things I want to talk about which they don't kind of mention on paper, but this is mainly going to be the cursed energy damage multipliers. So on his skill 3, he gets 1% extra damage per cursed energy, right? So it will do pretty much a decent amount of damage, right? If you, granted you have a ton of curse energy. I don't really think it's still worth it regardless. I still feel like you're still going to be using your skill 2 very much, but you know, just so you would get an idea. Now on his special, he gets 3 point roughly, this is just an estimation, right, by calculations, etc. So it's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be very close. So this is going to be roughly about 3.3% damage increase, you know, per cursed energy, right? So each cursed energy is going to give you 3.3%. So if you have roughly about, let's say, 100 cursed energy when you use your ult, then wow, you're gonna have like roughly 330% damage because of your curse energy, and then obviously you're gonna drain it all. So that's gonna be roughly around there. Like I said, he's just gonna be more of a debuffer character. Even when you have the perfect scenario where you have the most cursed energy as possible, I don't think his damage output is anything crazy, but definitely the debuffs, etc., that you can apply to the enemies to not only protect your team and give them survivability by, you know, obviously lowering the amount of damage the enemy does, but also increasing your damage output by increasing the amount of damage that they take, right? So overall, I think the character is very good. I don't think he's like tremendous character that people should go out of their way for unless you are a collector or you really like Geto. Now he can definitely work because he, like I said, he's going to be an amazing debuffer, providing 2 different situations into one skill, you know, giving more survivability and of course more offense. So he's definitely a really good character overall. I really like how he plays until you get to his ult. I still feel like his ult is still very wonky and they could do better by increasing the modifier that it gets. But I understand why they don't want to, because then it's essentially going to be a Gojo who doesn't leave the field and can also debuff and, you know, kind of buff your team's damage in a way. Anyways, that's basically going to be Geto. So let's actually get right into the actual, you know, showcase. All right, so here we're going to be doing the chapter 14 EX4 again, right? And we're going to be this time showcasing Geto with 5 dupes rather than no dupes. So let's get right into it. So as you can see, I do have Gojo here, but Gojo's main role is just to kind of clear through the stage, so that way we kind of, you know, breeze through it. Because if I were to use just Geto, I'd probably be very low HP by the end of the wave and then probably die. Panda's here just to die, so that way we can get our other characters in as quick as possible. All right, Gojo left, and now we finally have Geto in. So now Geto's going to cook him. So we're just going to be spamming skill 2 the entire duration until we get our ult, and then after we ult, we're going to use our skill 3. Now I want you to pay close attention to how much damage, not how much damage we're going to be doing, but how much damage they're going to be doing to us when Geto starts to debuff him. Okay, 3k, so we're low enough, so we're going to heal. And we're going to attack normally, buff again, debuff him again. Only 3k so far. 1k to Inumaki. So like I said, Geto, he debuffs the enemy to the extent where they do practically no damage. And then on top of that, he also increases the damage that you can do to the enemy with your curse techniques. So we'll debuff him again, then we'll use our thing to regen our curse energy, buff once more, and then debuff him again. Alright, so he's broken now. Now here we'll use our ult with our memory. We'll buff, and then we'll use this memory with our ult as well. And then on the preceding turn, we're just going to be using our skill 3 with Geto, so you can see how much damage he can do. Now in the perfect case scenario, obviously Inumaki would have been better in the front position, but since I don't have Geto duped myself, I can't really do it. So 3.3 mil, not bad, and then obviously 2 mil from Inumaki, considering Geto's attack is an AoE attack. And then I'll use some AoE attacks just to see how much damage I'll do with the AoE attacks. Here we'll attack normally, then we'll buff again. and then we'll just continue to keep debuffing the enemy. 283k, nothing crazy. You're mainly going to be using him for his skill 2 though. Energy regen, buff, and then of course, once again, we'll just, you know, do that. Inumaki's dead, that's completely fine. Took 14k with Geto. That's without all the debuffs stacked on it, because I did miss a turn using skill 3. Use our unity, we'll buff, and then we'll attack normally again. Just in case, we'll just use the ult because it looks like he might die here. Well, he didn't die here. That's still fine though. But as you can see, we're just debuffing the enemy to literally oblivion to do more damage to him, and on top of that, decrease the amount of damage that he does. We just got unfortunate that he just managed to target Inumaki a couple times. $24 damage, 1,256 damage. Like, as you can see, Geto is an amazing debuffer. The only reason that the enemy is even doing that much damage is because he's self-buffed and all that, so he's doing tons of damage. But like, even after all that, you practically saw he did literally no damage to Yuki, who is a rare character, by the way. A rare character. So Geto is definitely a powerful debuffer. People don't give him enough credit just because his DPS output isn't anything insane. But regardless of all that, I still think he's a phenomenal character, just not one that people should chase for, because there's definitely going to be better debuffers in the future, and you don't really necessarily need him as your debuffer when a lot of the meta right now is just to be buffing your team, right? So yeah, anyways, we'll just heal again, and yeah, we'll just finish it off here, and he should be dead. In fact, we could probably just dual ult. Do keep in mind, a lot of these attacks that we're doing too with the Geto is without any buffers. The only buffer we have is Yaga. We could put more buffers and then maximize his damage output, but we want to kind of use him as our debuffer as well and still have our main DPS carry. So overall, I think his damage is pretty good for what it's worth, and his second skill is literally amazing, being able to increase the amount of damage you do to the enemy while also decreasing the damage that they do to you. But other than his skill 2, there's not really any other reason to pull for him. I still think, you know, if you have Gojo already, there's no reason, right? You should just be saving. There's going to be more characters that are going to have more value. Either way, I still really love this character. On JP, I literally like pulled for this guy for like multiple dupes because I just really like him. I really like Geto, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically going to be the Geto 5 dupe showcase of him. And yeah,